changing the environment can change how those genes or predispositions show up for you. So if you have predisposition and you change your lifestyle, you change your nutrition, how you sleep, and everything else, it's gonna show up in your life. Are you expressing your genes? It means they're gonna show up for you, or you can down regulate your genes. That is never gonna show up for you. So that's the power of genetic testing.
Welcome to Harmonic Alignment,
A podcast that explores the new frontier of energy medicine,
bridging the gap between Western medicine and quantum physics,
giving you easy and practical solutions.
guided by
Me, Dr. Larisa Sharipova,
and me, Priscilla Koblenz. Join us on a journey discovering your harmonic alignment. On today's episode of Harmonic Alignment, DNA. I am so excited. There has really never been a better time to be alive when it comes to understanding your health at an individual and tailor-made for you level. In this episode, Dr. Larisa Sharipova, who's been looking at DNA for over a decade, walks us through the latest and how it's safe, how it can be used not to scare you in your health journey, but to optimize your health. You can really get down and look at what supplements your body is going to need for support and or what foods and exercises are actually optimal for your genetic makeup. This is a really exciting episode. It's the future of individual, personalized, tailored just to you wellness. You're going to love this episode. I am so excited. Today, we are going to talk about DNA testing. Dr. Larisa has kind of been a pioneer. She's been looking at DNA testing and how it can affect and optimize your health and longevity for over 10 years. What was your first introduction to DNA testing?
I started looking at DNA testing over 10 years ago, and back then there was not many companies who offer DNA testing specifically here in the United States. So I found one company that I heard in one of the health summits or educational classes, and I just wanted to learn more. And of course I could learn more about my own DNA and genetics. The company was based in Europe, so I was trained with them. I did my own genetic testing, and there was a lot of things that I learned about myself. For example, I tried keto diet for 1 year, and based on my genetics, I couldn't process fat very well. So it wasn't the ideal diet for me, even though it helped me to lose some post-baby's weight, but in the long run, it wasn't beneficial for me. So my genetic testing showed me that the best diet for me was Mediterranean, based on my enzymes, genes for my enzymes and metabolism. But again, I couldn't process carbs or grains well based on my genetics. So the best diet was Mediterranean minus grains, and that's my diet for last 10 years, and that's worked for me. So that company was the first that offered genetic testing here, so I had to send my test to Europe, so it was very cumbersome. And after that, there are a few companies that show up here in America. A lot of them direct to consumer. So you send your kit, and we're gonna show some today, and you get a result with recommendations.
Most people are thinking I can just send in my DNA and figure this out on their own, and it's still a very complicated process, and you need a health practitioner's guidance to really get the most benefit out of understanding how your DNA is affecting your current health today.
Yes, because sometimes depends on the company, they all report differently. So if it's a direct to consumer, they give you minimum report, not to overwhelm you. But if you get result, like any labs, if you go for blood testing, you get results. How you know how to interpret? What's the numbers means, right? Even though it says high and low, you get scared. Why it's high? What does it mean? Same with genetic testing. Even though they give you recommendation based on your genes, you need to work with practitioners to have personalized for you even the result that you get from the company. So that's why new company that I use for genetic testing only through the practitioners. So
the new company that you're working with now is part of Systemic Formulas. So Systemic Formulas has been around since the 1950s.
Yeah.
They work well with practitioners. They've always been into alternative health and wellness. And now they have just on the market a new DNA kit through their labs, Alimentum Labs. Once they get the data, they use AI to help make recommendations for clients on what's going to be best supplementation, the best exercise protocols. So walk me through. I just got a kit. We're going to open it up here.
Yeah.
What is the first step when you get your kit in the mail? Now, you can only get these kits through a practitioner.
So if you work with practitioner or 5 practitioner, or you can contact through me, because I'm a practitioner now. So I have to order a kit for you, or I can send you a link you order, but it's all going to be connected to me. Important point, and a lot of people ask that question, my name going to be associated with genetics.
Right. One of the biggest fears of genetic testing is, will people get access to my DNA? Will this affect my life insurance, my health insurance? And this company actually completely solves that problem. They have no idea whose DNA they're testing.
Yes, when you receive a kit, right, you're my client, I have your name, but the kit has a number, right, and QR code. Okay. So only this number important for the lab. You're going to be a number, not a name for that lab. They don't care who's the person. This is possible because the test is not going to be covered by insurance. And that's what's important. Anything goes through the insurance, supposed to have your name, because that's how you're affiliated.
So this is something you're going to have to pay out of pocket for. What is the cost?
So regular price is $500. If you go through our link, we have a special price.
That. Does that include the interpretation?
Yes, my recommendations and an overview of the results. When I go through the report and talk to the client after with the results, I go personal, what's priority for you, what's your problem right now, and what we need to go over. So there is a priority based on genetics. They test 1,500 genes. Okay. So there is a long list of genes. When you get your kit, you register here online with this link that is in QR code. There is 2 tubes that you get, right? It also has that code. You have to have that code to access the results, so you cannot lose
your card.
And when you register, you need to put a password and all your links. So if you lose that, you don't have access to your results. So
that's why it's very secure. If you don't have the information, you can't get back in.
So here, the swaps, you swap one chick and another chick and put one of each, the vials.
Okay.
And you label everything else here, and you send this kit. It's provided envelope, prepaid envelope.
Oh, okay. So the envelope's in there.
Yeah. And you just send through the post mail, and the company gonna receive your test, and it's gonna be ready with the results maybe in 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay. I just swab the inside. I put it in the vials. I put it in the mail, and then you said 3 to 4 weeks.
4 to 6
4
weeks.
to 6 weeks. Okay.
Why it's different? Because they do in batches. So depends how many specimens they receive. They put all them together to run through the machine. And if you are last on a batch, so you're going to be 4 weeks. If you first on a batch, you have to wait more. Because it's not emergency case, right? You don't need emergency results, but the results, it's one for lifetime.
Okay.
Because genes don't change. So there is a lot of genes, and you're going to have all this raw data with all your genetics. We go through the results, as I explained, based on your priority and genes.
So let's talk a little bit more about figuring out and interpreting the data and what you're finding. Because it's one thing to see the data and the recommendations, but it's another thing to have a relationship with a practitioner who already knows what you're struggling with health-wise, whether it's weight loss or an autoimmune condition. What are some of the health reasons someone would use a DNA test?
There is any kind of reason you can do genetic tests, but not only if you have a health problem. You can use genetic testing, just optimize your health and life. The earlier you do, the more power you have, because we know that genes load the gun, but environment pulls the trigger. But to know environment or utilize environment to your genes, that's more important. And before we go to specific things, I want to say that this company, when they test 1,500 genes, they put them in groups because, for example, cardiovascular system has like multiple genes that correspond to one system. So they have 12 different systems that they report on. So cardiovascular, different cancers group, inflammation, food sensitivity. So there is a lot of different groups that...
So you mentioned the genes load the gun, but the environment pulls the trigger. So if someone is sitting on the fence saying, I am scared to view my DNA data, what is your response to make them understand that the knowledge is power?
First of all, there is two different genetic testing. The genetic testing or DNA testing that most people is aware about genetic diseases, inherited diseases. There is a different test for that. So most of that test is looking if you have chromosome abnormalities and you have a genetics mutation in the genes. What we test here is completely different. So we're testing for dysfunction of specific enzymes that coded by that genes. So it's kind of dysfunction in the body. It's not something missing. For example,
so it's not something like a deadly disease that
right.
you have. So this is actually just looking at when
predisposition.
You said predisposition of some enzyme breakdown in your genetic patterns or
dysfunction of specific things. Like we have dysfunction of receptors, for example, vitamin D receptor, right? So if we have a dysfunction in that receptor of vitamin D, we need to know if our low vitamin D in the body is corresponding to that, or it may be something else. So that will show us, example, different enzymes that correspond to detoxification. If there is dysfunction of certain enzyme, we cannot detoxify well.
So if someone shows up with low vitamin D, then it's missing some processing to connect the vitamin D so that your body utilizes it the way, then you would know that instead of shooting in the dark and taking random supplements, that this person who has this genetic predisposition would frequently use vitamin D supplementation to support that.
Anything related to nutrition, micronutrients or even macronutrients, there is a lot of different steps from we consume, like with food, or sun with vitamin D. How do we convert it to where it needs to go? Like if we eat food, for example, B vitamin, so vitamin A, we get from the food, usually vitamin A come from fatty, red colors, right? That's how we know.
So like beets and carrots, colored vegetables that are red
like
or orange.
Carotenes, right? Carotenes, it's before vitamin A. So how we convert that food that we eat in the nutrient, the micronutrient, vitamin A for the body to use it. So all this process has a lot of steps and usually involve different enzymes that convert one thing to another to the end results. So if we have dysfunction of those enzymes because our genetics predisposition to that enzyme, right? Genes correspond to enzymes. So these specific genes correspond to one enzyme. So if in that long process, like biochemical process, one enzyme is functioning low, it means we don't convert one thing to another. And it's like snowball effect. We don't get the end result of vitamin A in the body. So that's how precise we can look with our genetic testing, with everything. How we convert high carbohydrate food to mitochondrial ATP.
So it's showing you the sequence all the way through of starting with this little enzyme in vitamin A and then how it affects the body downstream.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating. This form of DNA testing is about optimization and prevention of long-term disease.
And if we know that we have this enzyme functioning low, what we can do, because we can support each step along the way. If we did genetic testing, we know that we don't convert like this specific food, right, to the vitamin A in different steps along the way, we can support it. We can give that substrate or we can give enzymes to convert it. So that can be due to give raw material, like specific food or specific enzymes.
So then once we understand this, we can say you need to make sure you add more of this food in your diet, and or you need to add an enzyme because your body just doesn't have the process to use this food in your body, or we need to find some form of supplementation.
For example, with vitamin D, if we don't have good conversion from the sun or from the food, we have to give vitamin D. And if there is a receptor doesn't work of vitamin D, we have to give much more dose of vitamin D compared to average person. So that also not only what we need to give, but also what amount or dose.
I love that. Anyone can benefit from doing this DNA testing, even young adults.
Yeah, I even did test for my teenage daughter because she was struggling something mentally related, and we found out that she cannot handle too much stress because of her genetic predisposition to how she convert cortisol in the body.
Wow.
So also low serotonin because she doesn't convert from tryptophan to serotonin. So enzymes is not functioning properly. So she's more prone to depression.
Wow. You can look to see if there's a food, a supplement, or an enzyme that can support her in her mental and emotional health.
Yeah. And there is the recommendation based again on AI conversion DNA testing to supplement from the systemic formula. So they recommend specific supplement that can support her serotonin in the body.
Okay.
And when she start taking it, her mood stabilize, and we don't need medications for that. Even though, if you don't know that data, of course you can go on SSRIs and other different things.
And go down a path where you still haven't fixed the bigger problem.
Right.
And it's not that just the symptoms that are occurring now from this problem that she's having, but it's the long-term effect of never getting the nutrition and the enzymes and the things that she needs for her body. So maybe her mood is affected now, but later on you don't know what else could be affected if you don't address it.
And also for me as a parent, it was also very good to know, because I'm not going to push her too much because I'm all A personality, always go, but she's a completely different person. And specifically if she cannot handle too much stress, so I cannot put too much stuff on her, like doing homework and doing sports and everything else, because she cannot handle too much.
So then there's also some practical things that you can switch up how you interact with her. Mm-hmm. You can change her schedule so that it flows better, so she can handle that until she becomes more resilient.
Yeah. And
because the ideal is once she starts on these enzymes, now she's going to be able to handle a lot more stress.
Yeah, and learning, of course, behavioral and everything else. It's not only supplement or food. We have to learn life skills and behavioral skills and everything else.
So what are some of the other health outcomes or conditions that can be improved by knowing your DNA makeup?
One is amazing, and I like what this company, Holobiome, start doing it. We know about microbiome in our gut. And a lot of companies now making probiotics, right? It's like big deal now, and there's a lot of them out there. And what this company is doing, they combine knowledge of our microbiome in our genes, because microbiome affecting our health, and what we put in our body affect microbiome. So what they do is they do testing of everything that related to gut health. How is our lining of our gut? Because we have receptors for different things that microbiome contribute. So for example, if we take basic probiotic, and we don't have enzymes or receptor in our gut, it doesn't matter what probiotic
doesn't matter so the probiotic isn't tailored enough to actually benefit you
for our specific body.
Your specific body type. Well, this is what gets so exciting, because this is the real future of medicine, is that no longer am I going to give every client the same probiotic or same supplement. We're going to know a tailored approach so that you don't waste your time, money, and not improve health outcomes as quickly as you want, because we're going to know exactly what your system needs for support.
Back to my daughter's testing, her holobiome report shows that some enzymes are not functioning properly, so we have to add specific, based on her test, probiotic. And they have a new probiotics like for specific different things, and her was neurobiome. We know that serotonin produced in the gut as well. So it's not only in the brain. So we have specific strains of probiotic that support produce serotonin in the body.
So after your daughter did her DNA testing, you found a product that they created called Neurobiome.
That's also by Systemic or Alimentum.
Okay.
Alimentum Lab.
And that product will help her with her gut biome and the things that she needs to support her mental and emotional health.
Specifically for serotonin and dopamine.
Wow.
And yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, that's so exciting.
And another one like dermabiome. There is for specific things.
I would say
For the
dermabiome,
skin.
is this for like people with skin
related
conditions?
Yeah.
Really?
So there is specific strains that they did research. They find those key species, they call them, that specifically relate to certain conditions in the body. Like dermabiome is one of them. Neurobiome is another thing. Metabobiome, which is based on your metabolism to support key species.
Let's go to metabobiome, because this actually may help with people who are stuck with weight loss issues.
So as I said, when I did my first genetic testing and I did my keto diet, it gave me a roadmap for what I supposed to do with my nutrition and how you process carbs, how you process fat. This
Protein.
is all. So all this information based on your genes gonna show up for you, and based on that you can personalize your meal plan.
That's amazing.
And if you go deeper, also micronutrients, like we talk about vitamin D, we talk about vitamin A, how you metabolize dairy, for example, lactose intolerance.
That's a pretty common one, the gluten and dairy.
Lactose intolerance show up for my daughter as well. So now we have to take enzymes to if we eat dairy or eliminate dairy. But it's important for growing body.
Question on her dairy allergy or her dairy intolerance, because she probably didn't notice physical symptoms, but overall it really wasn't supporting the function of her health.
Back to symptoms, everybody experiences symptoms differently. And I have two children. I did genetic for my 14 years old, but my 20 years old struggle with processed lactose as well. My older one is symptoms more GI based, but my younger one more mental based. So every time she eats dairy, she experiences kind of mood disbalance, anxiety, because again, that's the microbiome
that can't process the dairy correctly.
Or enzymes, and that create inflammation in the body if you continue eating it without using lactase enzymes. And that create inflammation, and brain inflammation create mental problem. For some people, it's more GI-based symptoms. For me, I know that I have joint inflammation every time I eat a little bit too much of lactate.
So what are some of the other questions your clients have when it comes to genetic testing?
A lot of people come to me, for example, they have unsolved health problem. Nobody can figure out why they have those symptoms. I think that's very good test to start, to go deeper, to find out what's there that we never looked. People sometimes want to know for optimizing their health, like for performance, to live longer life.
Let's point out, Larisa, you're 54 years old and you look biologically like you're in your 30s.
Yeah, thanks.
You don't carry excess weight. Your skin is amazing. You've never had work done or Botox. Like, there is something to be said if you can give your body what it needs and tailor it so that you don't just throw everything at it. Because what I think happens for most people is they read about the newest supplement on the market and they go and try it and they hope it's going to be the thing that solves the problem or the magic bullet. And there is no such thing but a tailored approach, which isn't just what you eat and what you supplement with and your physical. It's also your mental and your emotional state and your spiritual state.
And energetic.
And your energetic state, right? Right.
Yeah, and speaking about supplements, my daughter always looking like how optimize her brain and mental status, and like, go on TikTok, say, Mom, should I take magnesium? They say it's good for my brain. I said, but do you know if you need magnesium? Let's do and see you if you need it.
See, I mean, there's so much information out there saying, everyone needs magnesium. Some people definitely might need magnesium. It'll help them sleep at night, especially women who are having trouble creating enough progesterone, like in that balance. But we should know if you really need it.
Yeah. And genetic testing will at least show you if you're predisposed to that. For example, if you have predisposition based on your genes to certain things, like iron overload for some people. Like they cannot process iron and it's end up in different parts of the tissues in the body and create inflammation. So sometimes people are not aware of it. So let's do testing like biomarkers. So yes, you have genes that you predispose you to this, but are you experiencing symptoms with that? Because if you live clean lifestyle and you're already intuitively doing something that your genes predispose you, so you might not have the problem. So let's do testing if you experience symptoms, and we can do blood testing and see if you have high iron or not.
So what I'm looking forward to in my genetic testing is to really start to understand, I just turned 46, how do I optimize my health for the future? And are there foods that I continuously eat that aren't supporting my health and well-being? Is it a fat or a protein or not enough vegetables or too many of a certain vegetables? Am I not carb related? I also think the second thing that I'm really interested in is, do I actually methylate or detox well? And I know that that's a huge one for a lot of people. So maybe we could talk about, if your body doesn't create, say, enough glutathione in that methylation detox process, then you're just going to have a lot of toxins floating around. I mean, we're inundated with things in our water, our food, our environment, and that can cause inflammation. And then that stops the thyroid and the hormones. That's not supportive of weight loss. That's not supportive of energy. That's not supportive of healthy joints. I think a lot of people have trouble detoxing.
And we talk a lot about detoxification and specifically related to genes in our detox episode, so people can listen. But in general, there is 3 different phases of detoxification, and each phase has its own enzymes. When I did my genetic testing, I don't have highly functioning first phase, which is cytochrome P450 enzymes that convert different cancerogens and different toxins and pollutants to second phase. So I don't have a good function, so I always have to be aware of it. Not to get too many toxins, but also how I optimize my liver. So I need to have a good liver function and support that enzymes. And second phase, I have problem as well. So glutathione, which is our own body makes, and it's antioxidant, but also it helps with metabolize those toxins, specifically metabolite from first phase to the second phase. So I have to support my body with glutathione.
So once you knew that all 3 phases of your detox had some form of not optimal,
right,
you started looking for ways to cleaning up your lifestyle. And I know you also do, there's things like water fasting.
Yeah, detoxing once a year.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's detox supplements that you can take on occasion to support that.
Yeah. So I do take chlorella and I support liver with different enzymes. So glutathione, in the beginning of that process, you need to clean your body, you need to do detoxification and try not to consume as many toxins in your body. So you have to be aware because you do have predisposition. So if you are not doing anything, in the long run, those toxic metabolites are going to end up somewhere in the body and create inflammation, cancers, and all that different things. My mom passed away from fallopian tube cancer, and I know we don't have like lineage of cancers in our family. So she was the first person who was diagnosed with cancer, and that's why I wanted to know what's my genetic predisposition to that. And I think it's more was related to detoxification than its predisposition to certain cancers.
So you wanted to know, and if you had not figured out that detox piece, that would have made your health not as optimal.
Even though my genetic test shows I have a BRCA1 genes, so now I do detoxes and I do water fasts to optimize my own body for autophagy. So that remove the
and we know
cells.
that when you do water fast and the autophagy kills cancer cells. So it can be part of your toolkit to make sure that you live a life that is cancer free.
Yeah, because BRCA genes predispose you to cancer because genetically you don't have enzymes or a mechanism to remove, like your immune system does not remove cancer cells. So I have to optimize different ways to do that.
This is a way to do this that isn't scary, but it's also preventative.
And I think it's awareness, first of all. And a lot of people, yes, they're scared. They don't want to know their genes because they don't realize that we can go around that.
Right, because the genes don't determine that you're going to have cancer.
Yeah.
Genes do not create cancer.
But you being aware, you can be proactive.
Right.
To change your lifestyle, and I think it's very good motivation for people to start doing something about it, because if you don't know, then you don't change. If you see that something, yes, you're predisposed to different things, you can be aware and you can start doing lifestyle nutrition changes, and you can optimize your health and your longevity.
I love it. What other thoughts do you have on DNA testing that you think folks need to understand? And also, how do people reach out to you so they can get their own tailored approach, DNA results, and consultation with you?
So we're gonna put a link in the show note to connect, and you can do your genetic testing and have a consultation when results are ready. And I think to have open mind about your testing, because genetics don't change. So if you do one genetic testing, it's forever, because
so it's one and done. You don't have to keep retesting your genes.
But biomarkers to follow up if you're doing the right thing. So when you start implementing all recommendations based on your genes, so biomarkers, it means blood test, functional medicine testing, can tell you if you're on the right path.
Right, if you've made improvement, and there's biomarking tests that you can do to see if you're understanding your genes and you making these changes and recommendations are optimizing your health.
So again, changing the environment can change how those genes or predispositions show up for you. So if you have predisposition and you change your lifestyle, you change your nutrition, how you sleep, and everything else, it's gonna show up in your life. Are you expressing your genes? It means they're gonna show up for you, or you can down regulate your genes. That is never gonna show up for you. So that's the power of genetic testing.
I love it. Well, we always end with a question of what is bringing you in harmonic alignment. So in this day today, we're in the month of March. What's bringing you harmonic alignment right now, Dr. Larisa?
Living in a flow, that's harmonic alignment. Holistic approach to your health, life. You have to take care of all aspects of your life to be happy and in harmonic alignment.
I love that. You know, we here at Harmonic Alignment are always trying to empower people that so much of your health you have in your own control. Your thoughts and your emotions are probably the most important factors in your health, but then all of these other tools are roadmaps that can just help you get to where you want to go. Well, thank you so much. I think we explained a lot of the main questions people have with DNA testing, and I can't wait to come back and share what I found out from my DNA test results and what changes I'm going to be able to make with that data.
Are you excited about that?
Excited, maybe a little nervous. Like if they're going to tell me I can't eat chocolate, I'm not going to be very happy with this.
Oh, we create a healthy chocolate for you.
That's true, right?
And I'm excited to have other experts who do genetic testing and how they utilize in their life. So
right, who have you talked to? The audience?
So Dr. Pobby is going to be speaking about weight loss, and I would invite Shane Morris and talk about holobiome. That's his thing.
Oh, I love it. So, okay, there's so much more. We're really on the cutting edge of what's coming in understanding how you can use DNA to optimize your health and longevity for years to come.
Also, vibration change your DNA. So that's a topic
that's true.
to come.
I mean, that's where we really get to move in from the spiritual Western medicine into the spiritual cutting edge science. Is can we actually use sound and frequency to optimize your DNA?
Yeah, energy.
I think the answer is yes. Energy. Yeah. The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, that is super exciting because that means I don't have to pop another pill. So let's figure that one out as well. So till next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you ready for your Energy for Life bioenergetic nest scan? Dr. Larisa Sharapova and myself, Priscilla Koblenz, offer personal, private, 90-minute consults to get you back to optimal health and well-being. And starting in the new year, we're offering an Energy Mastery Program, a monthly membership, which will give you access to a monthly scan as well as 2 group masterclasses to help you optimize your wellness in the new year. For more details, visit the show notes or check out harmonicalignment.co. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Harmonic Alignment. If something resonated with you, we would love to hear about it. Please consider leaving us a 5-star review and subscribing so you don't miss an upcoming episode. Thank you. The information contained in this podcast is provided for informational purposes only and not intended for the purpose of diagnosing, treating, curing, or preventing any disease. Before using any products referenced on the podcast, consult with your healthcare provider. Carefully read all labels and directions. The products and information received through the podcast should not be used to replace a consultation or advice from your healthcare provider. If you suspect you have a medical problem or have any healthcare questions, please promptly call your healthcare provider. This podcast, including Dr. Larisa and Priscilla Koblenz, and the producers are not responsible for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained in this podcast. This podcast may contain endorsements and advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct financial benefit to the product or services referenced.